Cooey!
Buried deep within Mark Carney's 140-page bill about border security is a provision that's got nothing to do with border security at all. It's a plan to make it use cash to conduct business over $10,000. Here is the exact
Like, I'm nothing for
text
you. Just
from
because I
Section
acknowledge your
136
existence doesn't mean you
of
can
Bill
start biting
C2.
me.
Let me read it to you. Every person or entity that is engaged in a business, a profession, or the solicitation of charitable financial donations from the public commits an offense if the person or entity accepts a cash payment, donation, or deposit of in a single transaction or in a prescribed series of related transactions that total $10,000 or more. I think that's pretty plain English. They just sneaked this into the border bill. You can see it's got nothing to do with borders at all. It's got nothing to do with criminals at all. In fact, it specifically says that this applies to businesses and doctors and lawyers and other professions. It even applies to charities. What on earth is going on? Why are those groups banned in cash more than $10,000? Like it's an offense now. What's going on here? You got to remember that Mark Carney is the former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. And for years, those central banks have been looking jealously at Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency because they can't control those. So central bankers have invented something called CBDCs, Central Bank Digital Currencies, a government cryptocurrency that the government would issue. It would let the government track how you spend and receive.
Yeah. But they were like, no
power
crypto.
Is what smart money, as they call it, can do. It can literally be turned
and they're like,
off
wait, hang on a
with
second.
a kind of
Okay,
kill switch.
now we're down for crypto.
For example, CBDCs could be programmed not to let you buy things the government disapproves of, whether it's lawful firearms or political donations to groups the government doesn't like the truckers, or even things the government says to like a tank of gas or eating a steak. The Bank of Canada proudly says on their own website, and I quote, "We've been exploring a digital form of the Canadian dollar, also known as the Central Bank Digital Currency, CBDC, to be ready in case it is needed in the future." C2, a bill by Carney, is obviously paving the way for this. Carney is making it illegal for even churches and even doctors and other upstanding citizens to accept cash. This is clearly not about cracking down on bad guys. It's about cracking down on cash itself and the privacy and freedom that cash gives. We got to stop this. We're already tracked enough by our use of credit cards, but that's a choice we can each make by banning cash and pushing us towards a trackable CBDC currency. Mark Carney's Liberals seek to make every aspect of our lives their business. It's not. Just think of what they would have done to the trucker convoy, turning off their ability to buy fuel, tracking everyone who gave the truckers even $10. It is a spy state they're bringing in. Let's stop this madness. Sign our petition at don'tkillcash.com. That's don't kill cash.
Please. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I love you. I don't fully understand what I'm doing here. Okay. Kind of a lot. Ugh. Ah, fuck. Well. Fuck. Like, what? Okay. Okay. I don't think I can take this anymore. Canada traps Trump with a brilliant move. Oh, really? Like, why does fentanyl feel so good? Because people are fucking depressed and they have no hope. So. Okay, everything takes so fucking long. I'm gonna fucking freak the fuck out. Ugh.
Obama at the airport instead sent a lower level delegation. He was met at the airport when he got off his plane by the governor of Riyadh, who is a royal, but is not, not a senior figure in the government.
Oh, that is a snub. You send a governor to meet the president of the United
arrived in America and was greeted at the airport by Arizona Governor Doug Ducey. That would not be acceptable, even if he was moonlighting as a limo driver. And just in case the snub was not clear enough, the Saudi king had been shown on television back in the day greeting the leaders of neighboring states at the which is like finding out your parents didn't forget to pick you up from soccer practice. They showed up, bought an ice cream for a bunch of other kids, and then intentionally left without you. It does seem pretty clear at this point. The Saudis cannot wait until this president leaves office.
They believe that only the next president, whether it's Hillary Clinton or even Donald Trump, will be able to Arabia's status as America's key ally in the Mideast.
That actually makes sense if you think about it. Donald Trump has a lot in common with the Saudis. They both inherited wealth, hate neighboring countries, and have a decorating style best described as King Midas and Elvis designer brothel. But despite all this tension, the president tried to smooth things over during his speech at the conference, although judging by the camera work on the Saudi, may not have gone over great.
When we look back on the past year, a lot has gotten done. I'm confident that a year from now, we will be able to say that because of these actions, all of our nations are more peaceful and more secure and more prosperous. And it underscores the enduring friendship and partnership.
Wow! The camera actually said, "Oh my God, Obama, shut up! You are so boring." So let's move on to the UK. The country that gave the world the Beatles and then punished it with Coldplay. The UK also got a visit from the president this week, although their royals gave him a somewhat warmer welcome.
The Queen herself, in an extraordinary gesture of friendship, coming out with Prince Philip to greet the Obamas.
94-year-old Prince Philip even drove them to lunch.
I have never been driven by a Duke of Edinburgh before.
From the Philippines. The world's Rorschach test. I see an upside feather and my father's disappointment. The presidential election takes place tomorrow, and the current frontrunner is Rodrigo Duterte, and he is a colourful character, to say the least.
Rodrigo Duterte is far from your average politician. His off-the-cuff remarks are legendary. At this mass wedding, Duterte offers himself as a gift to the young brides.
I don't have money to give, but I could give your wives something else. And this is for the wives only. Men, I'm sorry, but you don't get anything because I'm not a queer.
Wow! That kind of homophobia during a wedding usually only happens when the father of the bride has 6 whiskey sours and decides to tell everyone what he really thinks about Cameron Mitchell on Modern Family. Not a fan. Not a fan. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Duterte routinely kisses his female supporters, once called the Pope a son of a bitch, all of which has earned him a reputation as the Trump of the East, a title previously held by a burnt wonton covered in scarecrow pubes. Now, Duterte has also suggested, if elected, he would kill 5 criminals every week, which may not be an idle promise, since he's been mayor. Extrajudicial death squads have reportedly killed over 1,000 people, and while he denies any involvement in that, he does admit he's got blood on his hands.
So no qualms about killing killers.
Of course, I must admit that I have killed. The 3 months early on, I killed 3 people.
I'm sorry, about 3 people? That's not good. Not knowing how many people you've killed is like not knowing how many Vikings know the exact number. The answer is way too fucking. And yet, incredibly, none of this has hurt him. More than half of his city's residents think the death squad is okay, which is a surprisingly measured response. Oh, death squads? Yeah, they're okay. Could be deathier, I suppose. Hashtag squad goals. At times, it seems like he is trying to test the limits of basic human decency. On the campaign trail recently, he delivered a speech that was truly nauseating.
He was the mayor of Davao when an Australian missionary was murdered and gang raped in 1989 in the jail in Davao City, where he's still the mayor today.
I was angry she was raped. Yes, that was one thing. I think the mayor should have been first. What a waste.
What a fucking asshole.
No,
and
I
if any
think
part of me was thinking, was that some kind of horrific joke? Please no, he meant every word of it.
It was not a joke. I said it in a narrative. I was not smiling. I was just talking plain sense.
Okay, let this be a lesson to all of us. When we say, I just want a politician who'll tell me what he really thinks, we should specify that that politician should not be a total fucking monster. And yet, incredibly, this man is leading in the polls by 11 points. So he's probably going to get elected president tomorrow, which isn't just terrifying for the Philippines, because it means that in just a year's time, we could be treated to this as an official state visit. So let's move on to in North Korea. Alphabetically speaking, the world's foremost Korea. This week, that country saw a major event.
Ominous developments in North Korea right now, where the biggest political event in decades is underway. The first gathering of the Communist Party elites in some 36 years.
That's right. The North Korean Workers' Party had its first gathering since 1980. I'm guessing the first order of business was therefore, oh my God, how good was Cheers? Cheers, guys. This event was so momentous, North Korea actually invited around 130 foreign journalists to come cover it, where they got the chance to meet some normal, everyday, completely unscripted Pyongyang citizens.
Kim Jong-un 선생님께서 최고이십니다.
Yes, he's the best one in the world.
The best leader in the world.
Yeah, it is the most powerful country in the world.
What should Americans know about your leader?
청와하면서
Comrade Kim is the best in the world, she says, and a peacemaker.
We don't have anything against Americans, but we don't like American policymakers, she said. What do you think of President Obama? If she's given the weapon, provided the weapon, she wants to shoot at him. So if she's given a weapon, she would shoot at President Obama? She wants to shoot at him.
Wow. There is literally no other response to that than wow. Especially because you don't often hear assassination threats in the same wistful tone of voice. You'd say, well, if I had a bread maker, it would be focaccia every morning. But the highly choreographed tour was taken to a model farm that seemed weirdly devoid of farmers, a nursery school with this on the wall, and even a gun factory turned museum with great historical significance.
We're told the founder of President Kim Il-sung test fired the first locally produced submachine gun 50 meters, more than 160 feet, hitting those two targets with a bullseye every time.
This rifle apparently fired by the founder of the DPRK and then later his son, Kim Jong-il. They all apparently hit bullseye.
Comrade Kim Jong-un shot 3 bullets and 3 of them got bullseye. They all got bullseye. And how old was he at the time? He was 7-year-old. The 7-year-old got 3 bullseyes? Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
Because every time I'm fucking trying to measure something and fucking like maybe I measured wrong and I gave him too much and I just shouldn't have given any. That was dumb bit.
Still, the whole point of the trip was to
Probably
attend
fucking
Kim
kill me,
Jong-un's
dog, on
speech.
purpose.
However, at the last minute, the journalists were not allowed
Oh,
into the
you're
building.
old.
Were instead
Thank
taken
you.
back to their hotel, where they couldn't even
think this
watch the
recipe's
speech on state
fucking
TV
wrong.
because,
Why?
as one of them showed on Vine,
3
it was
cups of
airing
sugar.
an old black and white drama. So her readers were reduced to
1.5
watching someone
tablespoons
watching
of
North Korean
salt.
television, and now you're watching this show.
We already
watch
started,
someone
so
watching
fucking.
North Korean television.
The last time
It's like a
you
Russian
said that
nesting
about
doll.
the brownies,
If every piece was
you
less
said it was the
entertaining than a
best
plain
brownie
wooden doll,
recipe.
Same with the
ever.
cookies.
But
Same with the cookies.
Trusted.
Like,
13 hours later, the state
and the
TV
trick is like
did
3
give
cups
some
of flour. Oh, I don't fucking.
The
I usually
state
use all
television
recipes.
channel broke
to
irregular
cite all
programming with a
recipes.
special news bulletin
Yeah.
announcing that Kim Jong-un
There we
will
go.
be
Oh, stupid.
elected this weekend to a new, even more grandiose title than the one he currently holds.
Kim Jong-un is getting a title bump. I guess the only
Okay,
question
wait,
is,
I'm
what's
waiting
the
for them
title
to
going
go to bed.
be? Will it be Supreme Leader, Triple Supreme Leader?
It's like 13
What
minutes.
happened to Kim Lisi, Mother of Dragons?
Okay.
Because, think about it, given his
Oh, I'm
unpredictable
just, like,
violence
fucking
and fantastical family history,
thinking
he's
maybe
perhaps
he
the
thought that
only
I
person
fucking-
on Earth who could conceivably win the
I
Game
heard
of
him.
Thrones. And now, this.
And now,
thought that I fucking
the next president of the United
like,
States.
why would mommy do this? Like, she's trying to fucking help her. And she's fucking scared me so much.
You know what, Deanna,
The next president of the
when
United
you did
States,
the first,
Newt Gingrich.
stroke or whatever it was, I could feel that he was not
The
there
next
anymore.
president of the United
You know,
States,
maybe
Michelle
could have
Obama.
Yeah, because he lost so much blood though.
during that night.
Yeah, that
It's
too.
Next president of the
Yeah, I
United
know.
States.
But Deanna,
You
like
are
half of
looking
it
at
show.
the next
No, I just
president
felt
of the
like
United
it was
States
that
of
did that.
America.
No.
Ralph Nader, the next president of the United
I
States.
was like, I feel like it was sick at first, but then pills, because that's what
Like
I
a
think that
dog
pill
lives
caused
to
the.
9, 10.
Yeah, but I think that pill caused the first one. The first pulmonary. Instead of the blood coming out, it'll start to clot in and going into him and staying into him.
But I mean,
portrayed by the
like
likes
I
of
say,
Arnold
things were like this. You were
Schwarzenegger,
there, you
Nicolas
gave him the
Cage,
goodbye,
and
you
Al
told
Pacino.
him that you loved
Is how
him. It's
much
not like
we
he
respect
died
them
in the
and the
middle of the
complexity
night
of the
in our
work
room
they
and he
do.
was like, oh, why am I alone? Why am I just like,
I
you know,
just keep
he was
thinking, like,
gone.
fucking keep the visual of his face staring at me when she put the fucking injection.
A new study shows
And I
late
just
night
keep thinking,
snacking
like,
could damage the part
maybe
of
his
your brain
heart
that
stopped, but his
creates
brain
and
was still working.
stores
They were just left
TV
on the
is the
table.
most addictive food in America. The new study suggests
It's like, but fucking maybe she said, do you want to stay a bit, like, for, like, after? I'm like, no, if he's fucking heart stopped, like,
red wine is just as good
his eyes were still open. I was
It's
like,
better because
maybe
knowing
he's
you,
still
you would
mentally
have
there.
think that you were going to wake up.
I know.
That's more like science. It's more like something your sassy
Your
ass
eyes
would
are
wear on a
great.
t-shirt.
Wait,
And when
she's
studies
color.
aren't blanketing TV, they're
My
all over
God.
your Facebook feed with alerts like study finds liberals are better than
I'm
conservatives.
tired
and
of because I
spicy.
had a little balloon
Your
on the
cats
ground.
might be thinking about
See, it's like
you.
such stupid
And
things. I'm like, the
scientific study
cheese,
shows that
I love
engage with
cheese.
fellatio.
Like,
And by
it's
the
so
way, I'm not
stupid.
interested. Let
Can
me
I go
start
down?
engaging in some mutually pleasurable 69ing. Hashtag fair pleasure, hashtag feminism. Time.com once even ran the headline, scientists say smelling farts
I
might
love you.
prevent cancer,
Bad.
which I would say was the most unfortunate thing Time ever published, seeing that once did a cover story on those Asian American whiz kids. The point is, there are now so many studies being thrown around, they can seem to contradict one another. In just the last few months, we've seen studies about coffee that claim it may reverse the effects of liver damage, help prevent colon cancer, decrease the risk of endometrial cancer, and increase the risk of miscarriage. Coffee today is like God in the Old Testament. It will either save you or kill you, depending on how much you believe in its magic powers. And after a certain point, all that ridiculous information can make you wonder, is science bullshit? To which the answer is clearly no. But there is a lot of bullshit masquerading as science. So tonight, we thought we'd talk about a few of the reasons why. And first, not all scientific studies are equal. Some may appear in less than legitimate scientific journals, and others may be subtly biased because of scientists feeling pressured to come up with eye-catching positive results.
My success as a scientist depends on me publishing my findings. I need to publish as frequently as possible in the most prestigious outlets that I can.
Now, that's true. Scientists are under constant pressure to publish, with tenure and funding on the line. And to get published, it helps to have results that seem new and striking, because scientists know nobody is publishing a study that says nothing up with acai berries. And to get those results, there are all sorts of ways that, consciously or not, you can tweak your study. You could alter how long it lasts, or make your random sample too small to be reliable, or engage in something that scientists call p-hacking. That's p-hacking with a hyphen, not to be confused with facking, which, as I think everyone knows, is a euphemism for fucking the Philly fanatic. P-hacking is very complicated, but it basically means collecting lots of variables and then playing with your data until you find something that counts as statistically significant, but is probably meaningless. For example, the website 538 surveyed 54 people and collected over 1,000 variables, and through p-hacking the results, was able to find statistically significant correlations between eating cabbage and having drinking iced tea and believing
so hard.
Crash didn't deserve to win
God.
Best Picture, and eating raw tomatoes and Judaism.
Oh my God.
And the only thing tomatoes have in common with Judaism is that neither of them really feel quite at home in the upper Midwest. But You don't even need to engage in these kinds of manipulations to get results that don't hold up. Even the best designed studies can get flukish results. Has to go against that is the replication study, where other scientists redo your study and see if they get similar results. Unfortunately, that happens way less than it should.
Replication studies are so rarely funded and they're so underappreciated. They never get published. No one wants to do them. There's no reward system there in place that enables it to happen. So you just have all of these exploratory studies out there that are taken as fact, that this is a scientific fact that's never actually been confirmed.
Exactly. There is no reward for being the second person to discover something in science. There's no Nobel Prize for fact-checking. And incidentally, there's no Nobel Prize for fact-checking is a motivational poster in Brian Williams' MSNBC dressing room. And for all those reasons, scientists themselves know not to attach too much significance to individual studies until they're placed in the much larger context of all the work taking place in that field. But too often, a small study with nuanced tentative findings gets blown out of all proportion when it's presented to us, the layman. The scientific body puts out a press release summarizing the study for a wider audience. For instance, earlier this year, a medical society hosted a conference at which a paper was presented comparing the effects of high and low flavanol chocolate during pregnancy. If that sounds narrow and technical, it was supposed to be. There wasn't even a control group of women who didn't eat chocolate, and the study found no difference in preeclampsia or high blood pressure between women who ate the chocolates. So there is no way a study that boring can make it to television, right? Well, wait. Because that medical society issued a press release with the much sexier but pretty misleading title, The Benefits of Chocolate During Pregnancy. And because most TV producers just read press releases, this happens.
Turns out if you're pregnant, eating 30 grams a day of chocolate, a chocolate bar, not the whole chocolate bar, could improve blood flow to the placenta and benefit the growth and development of your baby, especially in women at risk for preeclampsia or high blood pressure in pregnancy.
Except that's not what the study said. It's like a game of telephone. The substance gets distorted at every step. And I can only imagine how someone who watched that segment must have described it the next day. Or the news said our baby is only 2/3. And it is not like the media needs help blowing things out of proportion. Remember that Time story about farts and cancer? It turns out the study never mentioned either of those things. It just pointed out that certain sulfide compounds are useful pharmacological tools to study mitochondrial dysfunction. And while that Time story was later heavily corrected, we still get phone calls and emails from strange radio and TV shows wanting us to talk about farts, which is clearly a waste of their time. They're doing valuable work. They shouldn't be wasting their time fielding calls from drive time DJs, Gasman, and The Beef. And there is no doubt some of this is on us, the viewing audience. We like fun, poppy science, and TV news producers know it. That is why you constantly hear stuff like this.
Wow.
Men, listen up. A brand new study says a woman is more open to romance when they are full opposed to being hungry.
Okay. First of all, no shit. Anyone is more open to anything when they aren't hungry. But you should know that study involved 20 women, and you cannot presume. Park capital of the world as the ultimate symbol of what is truly wonderful about America. And it's hard to even know what to do in the wake of an event like this. We do have a comedy show for you. We'll begin it in a minute with what will seem like jarringly inappropriate angry music. And I'm sure there will be much more to say about Orlando going forward. But for right now, on a day when some dipshit terrorist wants us to focus on one man's act of brutality and hatred, this video, which was posted to Twitter today, shows hundreds and hundreds of people this morning lining up around the block in Florida, waiting to donate.
Oh no. Okay. Ow.
Welcome to Last Week Tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I am John Oliver, and let's begin with the story that has dominated the news all this week, the aftermath of the shootings in Orlando. Everyone has had their own ideas on the root of the problem, and it will not surprise you to hear where those ideas came from.
I've been talking about it for a long time, and I've been saying it's going to happen. We are taking in thousands of people into our country. We have no idea where they come from. We have no idea who the hell they are.
Okay, there is a great deal wrong with that, not least the fact that we know where he came from because he was born in Queens, about 8 miles from where Donald Trump was born, presumably when a racist fairy brought a butternut squash to life. Now, for their part, Democrats chose to focus less on the shooter and more on the weapons he used, even springing a surprise filibuster on the floor of the Senate.
Democrats, led by Chris Flohr for nearly 15 hours, pushing for new regulations to stop people on a terror watch list from buying guns and to expand background checks.
After nearly 15 hours, Murphy said he had gotten signals that his 2 measures would get a vote.
Wait, is he absolutely sure he saw those signals? Or was that a hallucination brought on by ammonia poisoning after holding his pee in for 15 hours? To be fair though, those proposals are actually coming up for a vote. But before you get your hopes up, there may be a bit of a problem.
Let's not kid ourselves. The Republicans control the House of Representatives. There is never going to be any gun control that passes.
That's true. Closing the gun show loophole in this Congress is incredibly unlikely. Even regulating the gun show Paul Ryan puts on every day is pretty much a loss. Which means here we are again, after another mass shooting with weak legislation doomed to failure. And there is clearly a disconnect between public opinion, which favours to varying degrees a number of different gun control measures, and any practical action in Washington. And it is pretty clear what is standing between, and it's the National Rifle Association. Like Peter, but for guns and effective. And to be fair to the NRA, it's not surprising they take a hard line on gun legislation. They're an advocacy group. It's what they're supposed to do. What is shocking is just how successful they've been at it. Just look at the last big failed attempt at gun control, known as the Manchin-Toomey Amendment. There were because it didn't really do much. It just called for background checks at gun shows and for online sales, but mainly because Joe Manchin, who co-sponsored it, had some credibility regarding firearms.
As your senator, I'll protect our Second Amendment rights. That's why the NRA endorsed me. And I'll take dead aim at the cap and trade bill.
Holy shit! That is a guy so comfortable with guns, he used one as a hole punch. His office's 3-hole punch must be fucking terrifying. And Manchin did everything he could to appease the NRA. He even inserted several of their direct requests into his bill, including allowing firearms dealers, for the first time since 1968, to sell handguns across state lines, which is a weird gun control bill. It's like letting Jose Cuervo convince you that the 7th step in Alcoholics Anonymous should be tequila shots. But despite all that, the NRA turned on Manchin and the bill and then punished him by running ads like this in his home state.
Manchin is working with President Obama and New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Concerned? You should be.
Yes, NRA stabbed Manchin in the back, although it would have been more on brand of them to shoot him in the back and then argue it never would have happened if his back had a gun. And the thing is, whenever any potential regulation comes up, the pushback is always the same.
And there's just no evidence that these gun laws would prevent these shootings.
There is at least an absence of certain proof as to the ownership laws in the past.
To think that somehow gun control is, or increased gun control is the answer, in my view, that would have to be proved.
Yes, it's the old "I'm not doing anything until you can prove it" argument. The same argument
Innocent
favoured by climate change deniers and fathers of the baby on Maury. Happy Father's Day. And that brings us to perhaps the most ingenious and insidious NRA tactic, because they don't just manage to block legislation concerning guns. They've managed to block information concerning them too. For instance, One of the major funders of academic research, the Centers for Disease Control, has been hamstrung in studying how best to prevent the last 20 years.
In 1996, the NRA successfully lobbied Congress to put this restriction into the CDC's budget. None of the funds made available may be used to advocate or promote gun control.
Now, the CDC was already banned from advocating for gun control laws, or indeed any form of legislation. But the 19th, named after both its sponsor, J. Dickey, and after the fact it was an extremely Dickey thing to do, had a chilling effect on the CDC funding any gun research at all.
CDC funding into gun violence research has plummeted 96% since 1996 to just $100,000 of last year's $5.6 budget.
The only other things that have dropped 96% in the last 2 decades are Lycos searches and Tickle Me Elmo-related stampedes. And it's not just the CDC struggling to collect reliable gun-related information. For decades, the NRA has successfully lobbied to prevent the ATF from having a database that is electronically searchable by name when tracing the origins of firearms. So, for instance, this is what they have to do with documents from gun shops that have gone out of business.
Workers here are left with an antiquated system of 350,000 guns a year, requiring them to review by hand tons of paper records and 500 million entries on microfilm. Many of the records are barely legible.
So, for example, these are records that we received as a result of Hurricane Katrina. We're to dry these out in the parking lot.
That is clearly absurd, because that does not look like a present-day record of gun ownership. It looks like the manifesto from a Spanish galleon that sank in 1610. So how the fuck has the accomplished all of this? Because the truth is, they're not that large an organization. They claim they have a membership of around 5 million, but that is 3 million fewer members than Planet Fitness. And the members of Planet Fitness have almost no power. Most of them don't even have the power to actually go to Planet Fitness. And that is true. It's true. By mid-January, that place is nothing more than a storage facility for grape-coloured exercise bikes. And while the NRA does spend a lot of money lobbying, they are frequently outspent by even the NAR, or National Association of Realtors, a group of wily bastards who somehow convinced all of us we need to live indoors like a bunch of nerds. The real power of the NRA is in its members, who are highly motivated and can be mobilized quickly. Just look at the website of the NRA's Political Action Committee. You will find alerts to practically every piece of legislation around the country. And not just write your congressman alerts. Alerts like the following bill 14th at 9 a.m. in room 126 of the state capitol. Because they know their members often show up. And one of the reasons they're able to rally their base so effectively is they have an appealingly simple message.
It's all about a single issue. There's no 4-point plan that they have to say no. So they're not for anything, they're against something. A single issue, one word, no.
Exactly. It's a lot easier to drum up support when you're just flatly against something. There is a reason that TLC insisted upon no scrubs and not the implementation of a national registry of potential scrubs, aka busters, that would screen with no scrubs. They knew no scrubs is a lot catchier. And the truth about politics is, it's about showing up. Remember the Manchin Toomey Amendment? Well, a national poll at that time found that 88% of people supported universal background checks, and yet Manchin's office maintains that of the received, they ran 200 in the bill. And that is why it is important to actually call your congressman. You can't just hit them up on Twitter or Facebook, because you won't get a personal response, or even worse, you'll get a very personal response indeed. Put it away, Carlos. Put it away. And remember the Dickey Amendment, which has effectively kept the CDC from studying gun violence? It is now opposed by both the American Medical Association and J. Dickey, the man who sponsored it in the first place. And yet, whenever a member of Congress tries to kill it, as Nita Lowey did last summer, this is how it goes.
Let's support research to prevent gun violence, protect our and save lives. Thank you.
The question is on the Lowey Amendment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The noes seem to have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
It's like watching a committee of deer voting against investigating the effects of oncoming cars. Let's stand still and like our chances. And those headlights are shiny. And if you're thinking, well, I'm sure after Orlando, if someone tries that, they'll succeed because we're all paying attention now. Well, here's the thing about that. Representative Tony Cardenas tried to overturn it again just this Wednesday with an amendment to amend. This was the result.
All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed say no. Opinion chair, the noes have it.
Are you fucking kidding me? That happened 4 days ago. And I'm guessing that you're hearing about it for the first time now. To be honest, we only found out about it yesterday, and we've been working on this story. Look, the Dickey Amendment is emblematic of a chokehold the NRA has over even basic gun data, and it should obviously be overturned. But the hard truth is, NRA members seem to care more consistently about preventing gun control than most of us do about passing it. Control right now. They were focused on it 2 weeks before Orlando, and they'll still be focused on it 2 weeks from now. So this is where I would usually say, call your senator and representative and tell them you want to repeal the Dickey Amendment. And you should absolutely do that if you want to, but you are going to need to do more than that. You're going to need to call them again and repeal it. Then call them on their birthday and say, happy birthday, and also get rid of the Dickey Amendment. Call them on Arbor Day and say, happy Arbor Day, whatever that is. By the way, what's going on with that Dickey Amendment? Call them on days where there wasn't a mass shooting, and I know those days are getting fewer and farther between, and say, hey, it's me again. What the fuck's up with the Dickey Amendment? Because repealing it, it's not gun control. It's enabling us to have an informed conversation about what that could look like. And if and when a proposal you like is on the table, you're going to have to make all those calls again. Because remember, it doesn't take much to outnumber the NRA. Planet Fitness members outnumber them. But it is time for us to learn what those members haven't. If you want to see, you actually have to show up every fucking day. And now, this.
And now, 60 Minutes anchors are still prompting people to deliver the exact soundbite they need.
He's a notorious tunnel manufacturer and the Tunnel King. The Tunnel King.
Not without controversy.
Not without controversy.
A collector of trophies.
Collector of trophy.
Money.
Bad actors.
Bad actors.
And both are false.
Both are false.
Not the varsity team.
Not the varsity team.
East German secret police.
East German secret police. So alarms were going off.
Alarms were going off.
Took 16 years. Took 16 years.
Because you were cockney.
Because I was a company.
The class system was that rigid.
It was that rigid.
Just accept that. Accept that.
Didn't want to get his pants.
Didn't want to get his pants dirty.
The do-up. The do-up.
You touch it.
You touch it.
Then they go home. And then they go home.
F-bird. F-bird. That's what happened.
Just like that. Just like that.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Moving on. Our main story tonight concerns the United Kingdom, birthplace of the Beatles, and yet very much the world's Ringo. Now, on Thursday, the UK faces an in-out referendum on whether to leave the European Union. And incidentally, an in-out referendum is also what most English people call sex. I say, that was a jolly good in-out referendum. You may not have heard about this referendum unless you watch financial networks, where it's usually referred to by a catchy name.
There's a lot of fear out there in the marketplace about the Brexit vote that's coming up.
Brexit fears getting traction.
A new survey this morning focuses on Brexit fears. Brexit is one of the major concerns in the market at the moment.
I think that the scariest thing about Brexit is the name Brexit. It's like, wow, Brexit. Whoa, be afraid. Conjuring Brexit.
Okay, calm down. Brexit doesn't sound scary. It just sounds like a shitty granola bar you buy at the airport. Hey, this tastes like a preserved owl pellet. Fuck it, I'm going to Cinnabon. You pushed me into it. And I know, if you're watching this outside the UK, you're probably thinking, why should I care about what Britain does with the EU? Honestly, as long as those crooked-toothed scum goblins keep shooting out royal babies in episodes of Doctor Who, I don't give a tally-ho fuck what happens there. And fair enough. It could have wide-ranging implications both for the UK and the world's economy. And first, it might help to understand what the European Union actually is. The idea for it came after the Second World War, when there was understandably a desire to keep the continent from tearing itself apart yet again. and it has since evolved into an economic union of 28 countries whose citizens can trade and move freely across borders and who negotiate. But despite being a member, Britain has always had an arm's length relationship with the EU. For instance, it doesn't use the euro, and some British politicians have been openly hostile right to the face of EU officials.
I don't want to be rude, but you have the charisma of a damp rag and the appearance of a low-grade bank. I want to ask,
What?
that we're all going to ask, is
Okay.
who are you? I've never heard of you. Nobody in Europe had ever heard
Back
of you.
it up.
That is painful to watch. And not just because all of those insults are things people in the UK have said about me. And look, the EU is not perfect. It's large, confounding, and relentlessly bureaucratic. Think about you. It's an unwieldy European body that's a source of great bewilderment. But Britain leaving it would be a huge destabilising decision. So you would expect the Brexit camp to have some pretty solid arguments. Unfortunately, many of them are bullshit. One of the most popular involves the financial contributions that Britain makes to the EU.
We've got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take back control in this country of huge sums of money that £1 a week we do not control.
That is former London Mayor Boris Johnson, a man with both the look and the economic insight of Bam Bam from the Flintstones. He's even been driven around in a giant red bus for the last month with the words, "We send the EU £300,000,000" has been thoroughly debunked. It's actually about £190 million a week
Why
when
are
you
you
consider a rebate
crying?
the UK receives and
You
other
just
money
want
that
to
the EU
outside.
sends back. On top of which, if Britain does leave the EU, it may have to spend close to that amount just to access the common market. So what the bus should really say is, we actually send the EU £190 million a week, which is a proportion of our GDP, makes sound fiscal sense. In fact, considering the benefits we reap in return, oh shit, we're running out of bus. Okay, bye-bye. Main talking points from pro-Brexit campaigners has been the EU's onerous regulations. It's even a centerpiece of the feature-length pro-Brexit movie, Brexit the Movie.
Here is regulated EU man waking from his regulated slumber to start his regulated day. You wouldn't think you'd need a law for pillow cases. That's fine. But that's nothing. The pillow itself is subject to 109 different EU laws.
But is it though? Because we blew up that frame and then went looking through. And the problem is, most have nothing to do with actual pillows. For instance, this one is a classification of a type of breakfast cereal that comes in pillow shapes. This one is related to a merger between two auto part companies that included the phrase pillow ball joints. And finally, this one uses the word pillow in reference to this thing, which is supposedly for inflating air mattresses, but is clearly a sex doll for a platypus. It's so obvious what that actually is. So it seems the benefits of leaving may be overstated, and there's a great many people warning about a real downside. President Obama is against Britain leaving, so is China, so is Japan, so is India, and the EU itself. In fact, one Austrian politician tried to convince Britain not to leave with a poem.
The Brexit is, to put it simple, not like an it is gone. It is a complicated matter, more like a novel, not a letter. To understand the story well, you've got to listen. I will tell you what may happen. So sit back and let me wrap it.
I mean, come on, Britain. If a middle-aged Austrian bureaucrat spitting dope half rhymes in a busy hallway, if he does not win you over, nobody will. You know what? There's also overwhelming consensus about the damage Britain could do to its economy by leaving. Reports by groups like the British Treasury, the Bank of England, OECD, the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Oxford Economics, and the Centre for Economic Performance have all predicted that leaving would have a negative effect on the British GDP. And the pro-Brexit camp's response to that has not been great.
I think the people in this country have had enough of experts with organisations from acronyms saying
We've had enough of experts.
from organisations with acronyms saying that they know what is best and getting it consistently wrong.
Yes! Fuck these eggheads with their studies and degrees. I get my economic forecast from Clever Otis, the GDP predicting horse.
Yeah, but I honestly don't.
And at this point, you may be wondering, if leaving is so universally seen as a bad idea, then who the fuck is in favor? Let me introduce you to one of the leading groups backing a Brexit, the UK Independence Party, also called UKIP. Their leader is Nigel Farage, that man you saw earlier at the Comedy Central roast of European Council President Herman Van Rompuy. UKIP is known for its hardline anti-immigration views, and some of its members have engaged in outright racism. Just look at Robert Blay, a UKIP candidate for Parliament who was suspended after a tabloid paper caught him saying this in dissent.
The family's only been here since the 70s. You're not British enough to be in.
Whoa there. Just hold up. Not British enough to be in our Parliament. He's talking about a British citizen who was born in London and raised in Hampshire. How is that not British enough? Must he literally be a monocled badger named Reginald who lives in a shepherd's pie? Is that the bar of entry to him? Local level, UKIP has had councillors like this woman who served on a district council in Kent.
I have to watch my tongue because I can be very outspoken. And it goes against the grain. The only people I do have problems with are Negroes. And I don't know why.
Okay, let's agree it is now official. Not everything sounds smarter in a British accent. It's official now. It is absolutely 100% official. I know what you heard is horrifying, but at least we can all rest easy knowing that as she speaks, that's shouting to carry her away into the night forever. But even when UKIP candidates are caught making racist comments, Farage has sometimes stood by them. Look at Kerry Smith, who used a racial slur about Chinese people, a term that I'm not going to use because I'm not a parliamentary candidate for UKIP. But Nigel Farage did not exactly condemn him.
If you and your mates were going out for a Chinese, what do you say you're going for? I honestly would not use the word no. Fine. A lot of people would. No, but a lot of people would.
Yeah, a lot of people would. Racists, for example. Bigots, idiots, the intolerant. Who am I missing here? Oh yeah, UKIP voters, them as well. A lot of people would. Now, UKIP argued that a Brexit would enable UK to significantly reduce immigration, preventing both EU citizens from taking British jobs and non-EU citizens from sneaking in to commit terror attacks. And they have not been subtle in their campaign, with toxic...
Ew. Gross. Okay. That's part of the making cake is I get to eat the cake mix. Why do I have to fucking Russia fucking national anthem song stuck in my head again? I'll roll a joint. I'll roll a joint. I'm turning the fucking AC off. It's fucking freezing. Oh. fucking freezing in here. Can I just have some love without you biting me? Please? Ow. No, I don't like that. I just want love. Ah. See, now you're yelling at me.
But he loves you so much.
Yeah, but I want love, not bites. And now he's licking his butthole. Gross. Thank you. Well, we tried. Oh, fuck. I like that we were both like, oh. I like your
Yes. It was so tough to see this fell.
Tetris thing. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, okay. I'm like, what are you doing in there? Okay. Are you watching Squid Games again?
It's the season.
Oh, jeez. Why did it take so long between seasons? Yeah, like the first one was years ago.
I guess because it's in Korea, so they.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
They need the second season
Oh,
to
like
make the
come out,
money,
yeah, okay.
and then they can make the third one.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
Hollywood.
And Korea is like fucking.
It's one of the best Korean shows I've been watching.
Wow.
It's really bad, but it's really good. It's how to see how capitalist their country is, corrupt.
Yeah, but
everybody's
apparently
so much
it's not
in
even
debt.
true.
Hey, there's a quick.
It was fucking crazy. I was watching because I've been watching old episodes of Last Week Tonight, and it's like literally 2015, and they're literally saying, no, not only that, it's Gaza Palace or it's Gaza Israel thing.
Yeah.
Exact same story is happening then.
Yeah.
The exact same story, just no one was saying anything about it. Also, the one they did about North Korea and Kim Jong Un, the interview they actually did for it on the news, they recreated it for the interview exactly with actors. I was like, that's fucking pretty crazy. Like when his assistant is showing them around Korea and like, about like him shooting a target and he can hit it from like fucking 100 feet yards away and hit bullseye every time. That was actually a real thing that happened. That the fucking the lady went around saying these crazy stories that he doesn't have a butthole. You know what? I really like when big pens are like this.
Quickly or quickliness? Why is there quickliness? Baby cupcakes!
Scared the shit out of me. I'm fucking almost went fucking weed almost went flying everywhere.
With a cup of milk.
Yes, I know. Well, I'm gonna bring the milk carton up to you so that you know how much milk to leave for tomorrow.
No, there's another bag.
No, there isn't.
What do you mean there's just
It's the last bag, Yannick.
You just pulled it out of the bag and switched it?
No, I did that like this morning. We had French toast.
Oh.
still enough for your fucking.
Oh, always the same. Always the same. Whatever.
Little knife. Ah. Why?
Ah.
Thank you for cleaning budget filter.
Is that a call of your completeness? Is it your hardness? No.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I wake up at 5:45.
Yeah, well, you need to go sleep down, though.
No, I don't. You want me to sleep on the fucking floor?
Well, why did the other guys get the mattress then?
Because they spend the night there. You're funny. You fucking think we have rights or something? You did it? Heard it beep. Fucking heard it beep, okay? Ah! Oh. Ah! Oh no, where's my lighter? Did you see where I go? No!
Oh, you fucking whipped it.
I know!
That's when you whipped Nene.
Help me! Oh.
Robin. Oh, you okay there? Oh, triple there. Move.
I have to clean my corner.
Move.
I'm grumpy.
You got it right in the bag.
Ready? Yeah. Thank you. I will never find it. Ah!
Now what me with?
I want to see Nene.
That's really true.
How about next?
I know, but if they're homemade, that's why. Why took so long? I don't have any more boxes. I don't want you to go to fucking jail probably nothing. I don't want my fucking head. My dumb Groban hurts.
Me too.
I also keep losing my voice. The past 3 days, at the end of the day, my voice is starting to go.
Well, you started to talk a lot in the ether, so you weren't doing it for a while.
Yeah, that's true, eh?
Now you talk to either. The ether.
Because it distracts me from crying.
I know. You're crazy again!
Tit! I would be crazy if I didn't have pets or a live stream. Now I'm talking to somebody. They live inside my computer box. Yeah, but I talk to the people that live inside my computer box. They like me there. Ah! Okay, time for nighttime. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.